welcome back to Movie Flix. Today we are going to recap 2017 drama thriller movie titled Sister of Mine. Oliver is a young film director who lives in Los Angeles. One night he finds his little sister Aurora staring in some erotic videos. Surprised, he decides to return to Madrid after years of estrangement. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to our channel. Now, without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? We meet Oliver, a Los Angeles-based filmmaker, at the start of the movie. He's doing an interview with his girlfriend Karen. Oliver and Karen return home after the interview. While Karen is in the shower, Oliver decides to watch some adult content on the internet. He comes across his half-sister Aurora adult video while watching the videos. He is shocked to see Aurora on the adult website and watches the video several times to ensure that it is not her. But deep down he is ecstatic to see the video and can't stop thinking about Aurora. So he makes the decision to meet her and travel to Madrid, Spain, where Aurora lives with her mother. Oliver visits Aurora's college soon after arriving in Madrid, where he meets Aurora and her friend Natalie. Aurora is ecstatic and sees her brother. After such a long absence, Aurora invites him to stay with them, but Oliver declines, stating that he will stay to a friend's house because he does not get along with Aurora's mother. Aurora asks him why he has returned now as they drive back home. Oliver says he missed her and wanted to meet her. Oliver departs after arriving at her house. Aurora hands over her car keys to Oliver so that he can travel easily. The following day, Oliver travels to meet Aurora. Aurora cut Oliver's hair. After they talk for a while, Oliver discovers that Aurora and Abel had a long-distance relationship. She has been dating Carlos, a classmate, for the past 8 months. Aurora's mother, Julia, summons her daughter. Oliver quickly installs a hidden camera in her room, and after she leaves to spy on her. Following that, Oliver goes to lunch with Aurora and Julia. Despite the fact that Oliver and Julia dislike each other, they try to act normal in front of Aurora. The following day, Julia travels to Aurora's college to pick her up. She is displeased with Aurora because she gave her car to Oliver. Julia believes Oliver is self-centered and only thinks about himself. He appears, gets what he wants, and then vanishes like a ghost. Aurora is enraged by this because she adores her brother. Oliver is an independent man, according to Aurora, who does whatever he wants and goes wherever he wants, and no one can control him. The next day, Oliver sends Aurora a gift. Aurora accepts the gift and returns to her room. While she is opening the gift, Oliver is watching her and recording everything with the hidden camera. The next morning, Oliver gets up early to look over the recording to see what Aurora did all day. He notices Carlos and Aurora having some fun together. Carlos wanted to mate with Aurora, but she refused, saying he's like a robot who just goes in and out, in and out, in and out. Aurora desires something more creative, which Carlos is unable to provide. Oliver becomes more enthusiastic after witnessing their conversation. Aurora attends a party the next day with Carlos and Natalie. Aurora does not want to attend the party and wishes to leave. Oliver then calls Aurora and invites her to his party. So Aurora makes some more excuses and rushes off to Oliver. Aurora arrives at the party and has a good time with Oliver. They drink alcohol, do drugs, and have a good time at the party. Oliver and Aurora end up kissing each other while drunk. Oliver observes Aurora later that night and notices that she is depressed. As a result, he calls her and apologizes her for kissing her. Aurora, on the other hand, tells him that she is upset not because of the kiss but because of her upcoming final exams. She is concerned that she will perform poorly in the examination, causing her scholarship to be rejected. Aurora had always admired Oliver's independence. She wants to spend some time with Oliver, just the two of them, to get to know him better. So Aurora goes to meet Oliver at his house one day. They intend to eat lunch together. Aurora searches Oliver's cam recorder for an adult video of Karen while he gets dressed. The two of them leave the restaurant after Oliver gets dressed. Aurora tells Oliver that she does not like Carlos as he wants to control her. She wants to be free, just like Oliver. Afterwards, Aurora asks Oliver about his adult video in his camcorder. Oliver reveals that he and Karen like to do such things as it gives them thrill. He then asks Aurora if she has ever recorded any such videos of herself. Aurora reveals that she recorded one such video with her ex-boyfriend Abel, who however took the recording with him. After having lunch, Oliver takes Aurora back to his house and shows her the recording from the hidden camera. Aurora is stunned to see the recording. She realizes that Oliver is spying on her. From the day one, Oliver tries to justify his actions, saying that since they are half siblings, there is nothing wrong to do such things. Aurora, on the other hand, is displeased with him and departs immediately. Aurora has grown apart from Oliver as time passes. Natalie expresses her desire to mate with Oliver one day while sunbathing outside with Natalie. She thinks he is attractive and charming. Aurora is enraged by this because she is very upset with Oliver and refuses to talk about him. Aurora later that night tries to locate the hidden camera in her room. She eventually locates the hidden camera after some searching. But instead of removing it, she calls Carlos and invites him to her house. She wants Oliver to watch them mating. Oliver is overjoyed to see them mate and finds himself unable to control his desires. Every day he watches all of her videos again and again. Oliver goes to the woods one day and hangs out with Aurora and her friends. Aurora excuses herself and goes to the restroom. Oliver pursues her and begins to touch her. Aurora tries to stop him but eventually succumbs to his advances and they kiss passionately. Carlos notices them kissing but says nothing and walks away. Aurora and Oliver mate in her car later that night. Aurora later feels somewhat guilty for what she has done, even though she is aware that she has done it wrong. She is perplexed by her situation as and unsure what to do next. Aurora asks Oliver to drop her home because it's too late for her to go alone. Julia begins beating Aurora after she returns home, after learning about Oliver and Aurora from Carlos. Meanwhile, Carlos goes to Oliver's house and brutally beats him. He even destroys his laptop and all of the belongings. Julia desires that Aurora forget about Oliver, so she takes Aurora to a psychologist in the hopes of learning what's going on in her head. Everything, according to Aurora, is completely okay. She adores Carlos, but she also adores Oliver, and there is nothing wrong with mating with either of them. Everyone in Aurora's class finds out about her relationship with her brother and mocks her. As a result, she is unable to concentrate in her studies. Because Oliver's laptop is completely destroyed, he watches Aurora through a projector. He also tries to communicate with Aurora. Aurora, on the other hand, has been grounded and her phone has been taken by Julia. She wants Oliver to stay away from Aurora and advises him to leave the country as soon as possible. She even threatens to kill him if he is near Aurora. Later, Julia attempts to converse with Aurora and requests that she stay away from Oliver. Aurora, on the other hand, tells her mother that she adores Oliver. Julia believes Aurora is sick and wishes to treat her. Aurora is still confined to her room. After several days, she is only allowed to go outside with Julia to meet with the psychologist. Aurora admits that she has always been attracted to Oliver since she was a child. Although she had no intention of mating with Oliver, she could not stop herself when he made the advances. Aurora escapes while returning home with Julia and runs straight to Oliver's house. Natalie, who was mating with Oliver, was there. Aurora realizes that while she was dealing with a lot in her life, Oliver was busy mating with her best friend. She also realizes that Oliver does not love her in the same way she loves him. She is just another challenge for Oliver and he does not give a damn about her. Aurora returns home with her heart broken. She decides to call it quit on her relationship with Oliver. She shaves some of her bottom hairs and then removes the hidden camera, implying to Oliver that it's all over. Aurora now devotes her entire attention to her studies, taking her final exam seriously. Oliver receives a package after a few days. He discovers some hair inside the package. Aurora is sending a message that the relationship is over and she will never see his face again. And this is where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.